Welcome into 11 Personnel presented by Monticello Bank. He's Adam Luckett. I'm Nick Roush, and we're talking to you today after a string of commitments for the Kentucky Wildcats. They've picked up 5 new players in the last 3 days, including a couple of offensive linemen from the state of Ohio. Most recently, Dominic Black joined the fold. We're going to talk about them all today, give you the latest Kentucky football news, because that's what you're here for. You're here to talk a little ball. And we're also here to tell you about our good friends at Monticello Bank, our proud presenting sponsors. They haven't been our sponsors since 1895, but they've been in business since 1895. We haven't been around that long, Luckett. I don't think they did podcasts back then. Was the radio around in 1895? Guglielmo Marconi done his thing yet?
Did you see that movie where it's like Tom Hanks goes and reads the news?
Like you got to be more specific.
It's like an old. It was just released a few years ago. It's called. God, I can't remember what that movie's called. Tom Hanks, the news. News of the World is what it was called.
Oh yeah. There was the Western movie where he would read the news from town to town.
Wasn't the radio in that?
Okay, so the radio was not around then. Google tells me that Marconi was given credit for inventing the radio actually in 1895. But I'm here to tell you that a guy from Kentucky actually invented the radio. Murray, Kentucky. See, Guglielmo Marconi, he gets all the credit, I think because he has a cool name. But Nathan Stubblefield in 1892 actually successfully held a wireless telephone conversation with a neighbor in their respective houses using ground conduction technology. So he got things rolling a little bit earlier in Murray, years before Marconi. He just didn't get the credit he deserves. I don't know why he doesn't get the credit, but shout out to the old melon farmer Nathan Stubblefield for being the real one and getting us on the radio airwaves.
So News of the World was close. That was 1870. So
okay,
I wasn't too far off. I could not think of the name of that movie to save my life.
I bet he would have shown up to a Monticello bank and read out the news. I don't think they had 21 branches in 15 counties at the time, but I know they had a lot of them. They didn't have NBCBank.com to go visit Monticello Bank online and shop their rates, but they had plenty of great rates, and they're great sponsors of 11 Personnel. We appreciate them so much. Equal Housing Lender, member FDIC. Monticello Bank, proud presenting sponsors of 11 Personnel. I hope our listeners enjoyed that history lesson. Is it bad that I was almost like actualing Billy R. Sports' World Cup facts? He started talking World's Fairs, and I'm a junkie for all of that stuff. So what can I say? I'm a little bit of a nerd. Which Father's Day coming up. Any history recommendations? Send them my way. I admittedly look at I started watching Band of Brothers again on D-Day. Like it's just I don't know. Like I've got to scratch that itch. You've seen Band of Brothers, right?
No,
dude. Come on.
My wife and father-in-law randomly watch it. Just burn through it. I've maybe seen a couple episodes.
If Taylor's got Band of Brothers on, you got to walk in, Luckett. It's outstanding.
Yeah, that's what they say. But I have never seen Band of Brothers.
You've just been too locked in on baseball. We gotta get you're stuck in your baseball rut. We got to pull you out of it.
It's kind of unfortunate. Kentucky's run ends. Now I have to watch the Reds, which has just been an absolute calamity of errors nonstop for about 5 weeks now.
I haven't paid much attention because, like you said, there's been other stuff going on. I've been watching Stanley Cup NBA Finals. When the Reds gave up 3 straight sack bunts and recorded 0 outs, that's like little league stuff. I mean, and I'm not exaggerating. 3 straight sack bunts. How do you not get one person out? You haven't outed all. By the third time, you've got an out at every base.
You have to know what's coming at this point.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
it's been quite the last 6 weeks for the Reds have just been an absolute disaster. Like of Mets proportions last year. Just like what could go wrong will or it's definitely going to go wrong. So Ellie gets hurt. The pitching staff is just a disaster. The bullpen poor Tony Santion, they keep running him out there, and he just can't figure it out. Just getting totally raked over just totally taking a beating out there, both online and in the games. So, yeah, it hasn't been fun for the old Redlegs. But today, Nick, they're like a game out of the wild card. So I'm like, well, at least there's that. At least we're going to have that probably all the rest of the summer, just chasing that 83rd win to try to sneak into the playoffs.
But it's been bad for the Reds, but it's been pretty good for Will Stein, Kentucky. They had their first official visit weekend, had about 15 players in town for official visits. Jake Narod, he came in for an unofficial visit. So plenty of players coming, checking out the digs at UK, and they're already paying dividends. So on Sunday, we had 3 commitments in a span of about 3 hours, where sounds like guys – before they left, they had their meetings with Will Stein and co. And they said, you know what? Let's go ahead and do the damn thing. So we'll kind of go through each of the commitments, both from over the weekend and the 2 that they've picked up since. But first and foremost, you could sense these sort of it feels generic, but it was Will Stein's first big recruiting weekend, and you could tell they were trying to pump it up, to gas it up, to juice it up, whatever you want to say about it. That there was a concerted effort, a big push to add a little heft, a little gravitas to this event and make it just feel more special in the past. And I think there's certainly a lot of evidence from a variety of angles where you could sense that, you could feel it.
Yeah, you knew they were knocking on the door with a lot of guys, and they were pretty close. They were probably in the driver's seat on a lot of these recruitments, and I think they've just done a really good job, Nick, of just cashing in when they've got momentum. They did a great job, I thought, throughout the winter and spring, just getting guys on campus, visitors, building a board, and building a board where they had a chance to really go get some commitments. Narod, I think, started all of this, really. They were rolling before that, but that really got the thing going downhill, in my opinion. And now they're building a class that I think or at least has a chance to be 30-plus players, high school players, which is not – I don't think should be a crazy surprise. They essentially didn't have a high school recruiting class last year, right? It's like 12 guys. And then in 2025, there's just been a lot of guys that have already bounced. You had Cameron Miller, Ole Miss, Quentin Simmons, portal, Quisenberry followed Vince to Louisville, Darren Stry ended up at LSU, and there'll probably be a couple more after the season that leave. So you had to kind of reload, and I don't think they want to do the whole let's sign 30 guys in the portal every year. So if you're going to do that, you got to have some big high school classes, and I think we're seeing the first of probably what'll be a couple in a row for them.
Yeah, I'm hoping I don't freeze up. Am I freezing up when you like it?
You are a little bit, but your audio's good right now.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. Something on my face. My face might be a little on the ugly side. So we'll effort that to fix that throughout the time. But the point that I thought was significant. It's even less about just who and what, but having the changes to the facility, right? Little stuff. We're going to do a new photo shoot area. We're going to have new artwork on one spot. We're going to do a different kind of photo shoot. Mason Ball had some with some weird camera tricks to look weird. They had, the videos all got changed. All of it felt very new. And then on top of that, we had people taking pictures of the guys walking up to campus. You had the luxury cars parked out front. There was a very – not only did it feel big in a sense, but, Jake Narrett told us yesterday that, Brady Hall just piled a bunch of them in the car and they went and hung out and watched Tyler Fryman's baseball game on Saturday night. So, while it felt bigger, there was also we're still here to all get to know each other, figure out what this can be. And then that's the part that I think creating that connection. That's a big part of this official visit weekend, and I think that's why you should feel pretty confident that a lot of these guys who joined in the fold should stick moving forward. So big weekend, man. What's the number we're even up to right now? Is it 20 commits?
It's higher than that. I think it's 23 now.
Jeez,
it is.
Keeps
Let's see
up.
here. We're loading. 23. I had it right. Should have trusted my gut. 23 commits now. And there was also looks like a little rankings update. So some of the rankings have changed. So
right.
Nowrat's now 57 overall. Dominic Black, number 222 overall, 222 overall. He's the second highest ranked commit in this class.
Love to see it. Let's go back in reverse chronological order to break down these commitments. So starting with Malachi Brown, defensive line is a challenging position to find players in the transfer portal. This is one you got to be good in the high school recruiting ranks at. And it's very rare that you get a kid with that sort of size, speed, athleticism from right down the road. I know I felt like I saw Vince making trips down to Corbin frequently in the spring. So it's good to see that Malachi Brown will be wearing Kentucky blue and not Louisville red. A nice addition. And at the time, he was the second highest ranked player in Kentucky's recruiting class in the Rivals industry ranking. Significant addition.
Yeah, this is a guy, Nick, that I think the new staff really prioritized as soon as they got here. He's one of the best players in the state. They talked about how we need to, starts in state, and he plays defensive tackle. I think it was a big get. It was a quiet recruitment. Not much getting out, really. Louisville was in there. Purdue was in there. Tennessee was in there. But Kentucky, I believe, got him on campus twice in the spring, and it all kind of led to this official visit. And then once they got him onto the official visit, you felt like they sat in great position and they're able to close on it. And to me, I wrote about this on Monday. Like, priority position, great. You need these kind of defensive linemen. It's nice to stack two defensive tackles like they have with Malachi Brown and with Elijah Brown. The Brown
a lot
brothers.
of Browns in this class.
The Brown and Brown law firm coming to a line of scrimmage near you. But I think it's just in-state. It's just a real message, especially after they missed kind of on Seneca Driver. They were late to the party on Allen Evans before he committed. Just getting a big kind of win in-state. Tyler Fryman, it looks like that's trending in the right direction. It was just, I think it's a message just saying, hey, we're here and we're going to clean up and we're going to win our more than fair share of battles here. And it's going to be a fight for some of these guys with Louisville and with whoever else wants to come in and try to recruit in state, which is a big deal when you're Kellen Hall next year, another defensive lineman. He's at Ohio State's camp this week. He's top 10 national prospect, not top 10 Kentucky player, top 10 player in the country. So it was just a good, I think, development, just be able to win a big one and then set the stage for potentially winning another one. And then we'll see what happens in this next cycle. But just overall, Stein talked about whenever he was asked about recruiting strategy, blueprint, the answer always started with,
build a wall around the state.
Right. Start inside
build that wall.
Yeah. So that was a good win, I thought, because again, they were behind on some of these recruitments, so they were able to get him. I think matters, and we talk a lot about Kentucky recruiting misses and how even efficient is it to load up on players in Kentucky. Guys of Brown stature, there's been a couple that have been misses, but most of these guys that are top 300 players end up being good, starters for Kentucky. You could just go down the list. So good win. Gives them two quality defensive tackles. So nice start on the line of scrimmage.
And then to move back another level, you've got linebacker Drew Williams. He picked the Cats. This is a guy who was coveted by all of the big programs around the country, but didn't have a recruiting ranking that reflected that. I'm not really sure why. I'm not sure if he just wasn't on the camp scene or if he didn't check a lot of boxes, but he checked all the other ones. I think maybe your only question is from a size standpoint. Can he put on the weight to play Will? But outside of that, like this is a guy who plays in the Metro Atlanta area, who had 130 plus tackles last year. Nearly 20 TFLs, is a real sideline to sideline playmaker. And he was in Eugene at an Oregon official visit the week prior. He had Florida and Miami on the docket, but the Cats, they were able to end this recruitment before he could ever get down to the Sunshine State. This is one of those players like it that I feel like we'll look back on and be like, oh, I was not aware of your game, right? Like he feels like a big time player, even if his recruiting ranking doesn't necessarily reflect that.
Yeah, I think number one with Drew Williams, Ty Ashley is like your Mike, where Drew Williams feels like more like your Will.
Yeah.
So linebacker, I don't know if it's been talked about as much. I think we all know offensive line, which we'll get into. We all know cornerback. Like you look at the team now, running back even, you knew those positions had to be addressed, but linebacker too, volume-wise, they had to build it up. So it's important to land multiple guys. Like they're still chasing Jalatham Mayfield, who they have been on from the jump. I mean, like as soon as Jay Bateman got here, he was like one of the first players we heard about in the 27 class. So they're still chasing him. But now they have insurance with getting Ashley and Williams. Both of them, like when they got them on campus, they were able to wrap it up really. And give them two solid recruiting wins at linebacker. It was important for this group or for this class. They had to get multiple linebackers, and I still think they're in the market to address the position even more. But it was important to get on there. And Williams is a guy that they've targeted and they really like. Like, I think he's probably, if you were going to rank overall players as targets, he's probably pretty high on their board. They really like him. And so it was a good get for Kentucky. It's the only recruiting win now that Brian Duncan flipped in Georgia, which were used to kind of, especially a class this size, you're used to more than maybe one Georgia commit, but they on the board in Georgia. And this is a guy they really like. So getting on the board at linebacker, now they got two guys at linebacker. Now you're in a good numbers position for the class. That was something you had to address, and then we'll see if they can add any more at the position moving forward.
The final edition on Sunday was Austin Cole's 3-star wide receiver talent, who's from, I believe, Illinois, but plays at St. Thomas Aquinas in South Florida. This is a guy that could sort of grow into being like a tight end or a flex of sorts, but a big, tall, rangy target. I don't know if that tight end future is in store for him or not. And you can kind of say the same thing about Tank Proctor, like where do they exactly fit in the future? But at least from a tight end standpoint, I mean, they could lose three guys from the room this fall. If really Rodriguez goes out early, Henry Boyer, Elijah Brown, they're going to need to chase some numbers at that position. So this could be a way to do it if you see Coles as somebody who can sort of fill into that bigger frame and play closer to the line of scrimmage. Yeah,
to me, this recruitment, really, they were in on like, I don't know, it felt like 6 or 7, 6'3" to 6'4" receivers that you thought they could get. Coles, Julian Cromartie, Brody Knowles, Braylon Lane. There were a couple others. But like from the jump, it looked like, okay, they want a big receiver. They want a big receiver. So which one is it going to be? And it ended up being Coles from Chicago. Now at South Florida at St. Thomas Aquinas. I believe his mom played volleyball at Kentucky. I believe Justin Rollins reported that. So obviously a family connection there. I'm still trying to get the feel on like how the tight end stuff is going to shake out. Because it feels like I just don't know. Like, what kind of tight ends do they want? How are they going to use it? I just need to see it kind of play out. And even today, Nick, in Chris Lowe's exclusive at On 3 with Stein, like Mikael Skinner is getting a shout out.
Yeah,
when he's talking about
he looks really good. He looks real good.
Well, I mean, it was a highest ranked player in the 25 class. This guy, last year I was really high on, never kind of developed, but now, like, and he's interesting because he's a true kind of flex gadget move tight end, right? So how do you, and I've talked about Tank Proctor in this mold, but how do you use him? It might tell us how they plan on using Tank Proctor. And so just how they use the tight end position, I think, is going to be interesting because it seems pretty clear that they're planning on using that a lot. And so seeing how that shakes out with Coles, big receiver, you know, you always will see with some of these guys, do they have the speed or whatnot to win outside? But it was clear, I thought they wanted some size at that position in this class, and they addressed that with him.
I'm sorry, I was just trying to respond to somebody in the chat. And the heat is admittedly getting to me, Lockett. I'm not. It's a toasty day out there. The humidity's up there. It finally feels like summer a little bit. You know, finally, it feels like we finally made it to the dog days of summer, which means recruiting wins more and more and more. And after the 3 official visit guys, Kentucky had 2 more guys who haven't taken their OVs yet. And I'm not going to lie, Lockett, I got a little nervous because of that. It felt like for the longest time that Kentucky was in the driver's seat for Reed Gherkin. And then he moved up his commitment ceremony to before he was supposed to go to UK. And I'm like, I don't, I'm trying to read between the tea leaves. Maybe he did get convinced when he was at Virginia Tech. And you could say the same thing about Dominic Black, too. I'm not sure if he actually went and visited Virginia Tech. I know Indiana, certainly, that there was some momentum there for a little while after he took a trip to Bloomington. But Kentucky able to secure 2 commitments from big-time players in the state of Ohio. Dominic Black, Reed Gherkin, 2 guys in the trenches. And, there's a lot to make out of to parse apart through both of them as far as what the Wildcats needed on the big blue wall, hitting that state of Ohio hard. But the part that really got me was seeing where Dominic Black was actually from. I'm like, wait, he's from Darke County? Like that's my wife's neck of the woods. And I think the best comparison would be like if my wife was from like New Haven or Bardstown, Kentucky, and this kid was from like Hillview or somewhere in Bullitt County. We're like they're close to one another, but he's playing more of the Dayton schools, and maybe a couple that are a little bit closer to where she's from. But like last time we went up there, we had to take the long way around, drove past his hometown, and went past Eldora, where they have the giant Busch Light silo hanging out there right across from the Speedway. So you're in Busch Light country, you're in large people country. And I'd been kind of anxiously awaiting the time when somebody from around there would end up being in the mix at Kentucky. There's been some other kids who like went to Notre Dame or Indiana, or they'll get Ohio State every once in a while. But Kentucky finally got one. And Black is I think your tweet was just, there's your right tackle. I mean, he looks the part, right? Like every bit of 6'5", 2'8". I mean, he'll get up to probably 320 by the time he's playing football. A basketball player. And my favorite part, Luckett, is like, this is smaller town football in Ohio, but like they play it's high quality. I've been to a couple of the playoff games up there. Like they're running high level offense up there, even in the smallest of small schools. And like this guy's just blocking to the whistle. I love when you see in his highlight tape opposing coaches complaining to the refs because he's like bullying kids who are way out of the play. They're wanting like unnecessary roughness flags. Like this guy, he can get to that second level and he plays through the whistle. A great addition. I think when you were looking at what Kentucky needed to do in the offensive line room, like it was get guys like Black. You're not going to have all of them be blue chip 4-star. Like you just can't, right? Because it's hard to do. So there's going to be some guys that you want to develop that add depth in there, but you needed to be able to hit a home run or two. And Dominic Black, he certainly is a home run that fits that billing to help rebuild this big blue wall.
Yeah, I think just getting on the board of tackle was big. You need a true tackle. I actually think Gherkin's got some tackle flex, but he'll probably settle in at guard. Even Ian Walker, like I think you can make the argument that guard might be a better fit for him, but I do think he's tackle first. So you get 2 tackles with Walker and Black, like two tackle first prospects. So that's a big deal. Michigan State made a huge push for him, for Black Nick. Virginia Tech was in there, obviously. Indiana, Ohio State, and Notre Dame are sniffing around, and I'll just say, like, keep an eye on them with Black here moving forward. But it was good to get him in the fold. Really good prospect here. Kentucky kind of jumped in on him early, and then he kind of blew up like in March.
Yeah.
So I think that helped them getting in on him early. Basketball player, like in like a solid good basketball player in Ohio.
Yeah.
So he's got some athleticism there.
Man, I just imagine trying going up against that brick, what house, right? Like there's this kid down in Corbin. His name was like Mans or something. It was with 2 N's, and you see some of those big guys, and you're like, all right, well, he's probably soft. When you go up against one of those guys that you just can't move, you have to completely recalibrate. And Black, that would not be a fun time if you're a big man playing in the MAC or one of those conferences up there. Just like, so I guess I got to go around him. I'm not going to go. I can't go through him. Can't be backing him down. That would suck like it.
Yeah, that wouldn't be no fun. As
Aaron Mans, there we go.
Aaron Mans, Ralph, that's a nice pull by you.
Deep cut.
Yeah, so that obviously, like, we know, like, it's top 250 prospect tackle. Like, obviously that matters. 2 things, really. One, we knew they needed to have a big offensive line class, and they're having it. Like, very important. It's what we've been talking about, I feel like, for 3 to 4 years now. Like, they need a really good offensive line recruiting class. That's how you kind of turn this around. The offensive line issues are have a big high school class, but it just never developed, right? Like, so we keep on the same wheel over and over. Well, now, like, this is how you kind of go about fixing that. High school recruiting, fix your problems, college football via high school recruiting. So they're going about long term. So they're going about doing that. And so that's a good sign. And then they're also like in position with these 2 top 100 players in Mississippi. They're going to take their swings, but they also have built-in answers. So they're not all their eggs are in that basket. And so that's good. You're seeing good, I think, activity and process and all of that with their offensive line recruiting, which we all know had to get fixed. Number 2, and I wrote about this today, just the Ohio thing.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned this when Antoine Higgins committed, but it's just really important. Like, for Kentucky, if you're going to write out the blueprint, no blueprint that I would deem successful is going to skip over not recruiting Ohio. Like, you have to go in there and you have to win some battles. And specifically, Ohio meat and potatoes positions, offensive line, defensive line, outside linebacker, and then running back and safety, they produce players. And you go and look at when Kentucky had success under Stoops. It's Benny Snell. It's Luke Fortner. It's Mike Edwards.
Yep.
On and on and on. CJ Conrad. On and on and on. So if you're at Kentucky, you've got to take advantage of that, and you've got to be able to go get players from this area. The biggest program weakness this program ever had was the inability to recruit Ohio for like 30 years or whatever it was till Stoops got here. Stoops and Merrill got here. And so that changed when Stoops and Merrill got here, and it was a big part of their success, even if they weren't exactly the most efficient in the area at times. But it's going to be important for Kentucky, no matter who the coach is to go in there and win some recruiting battles, and they're doing it in this cycle. That's a really promising sign. I think with Stein early, we've seen a lot of like good signs. Well, obviously the QB, and this is one of them. This is a big one because it was one of the questions I had. Because we've only seen one really staff do that. Can you come and win recruiting battles in Ohio? They're doing it. I think it's a big deal.
And the other part of it too, is that it was very much a one-man operation. I mean, you had the whole Youngstown crew, but Vince was doing almost all of the heavy lifting. I know Klink did there for a while, and they ended up going head-to-head against Klink Scale when he was at Michigan. But I'm sure there were some people out there who were like legitimately worried that Kentucky would just not go back to that well and sort of seed it now that they didn't have Vince Merrill. That has not been the case whatsoever. And I think the other part that is important to note is that this is not how Will Stein's modern football recruiting operation works. Is not the traditional, you have a territory and you're going to work this state. Because back in the day, let's be honest, like a lot of recruiting was just word of mouth. You had relationships with coaches that would send you players. You kind of trusted them, and those relationships, they paid dividends down the line. So it made sense to geographically do things. Well, now Cutter Leftwich is recruiting offensive linemen everywhere. And some of them are in Ohio. Joe Sloan's flying in. I forgot where he was. He might have been with Narod, or he was somewhere like Colorado. I forget where it was before he flew in to see Gherkin at his high school. But like Tristan Hughes, Jay Bateman did a lot in that recruitment. That's a kid from Ohio. He just got invited to the opening too, the Nike Camp Finals later this month. So like they're doing it like the process has changed, but it's giving you a result that you need to see, which is Kentucky winning recruiting battles in Ohio and beating out big names. I mean, there's a guy who loves to share an AI image of James Franklin getting shoved in a locker. But it is, I mean, look, it is pretty remarkable how often Kentucky is going head-to-head and just winning. I mean, they got one offensive lineman, that Buchanan kid, but for the most part, Kentucky's cleaning up against one of the sport's best recruiters with James Franklin. That's impressive. That's really impressive. And hell, this one too, I mean, not to mention the defending champs in Indiana, they really wanted Dominic Black. And you know what? They might still try to flip him. Really impressive what Kentucky's been able to accomplish in Ohio.
Yeah, I just think it's a really important box to check, and they're checking it. I just think just the recruiting operation as a whole, Nick, from my seat, it's an A+ what they're doing. It really is. Like, they've modernized just the approach. I thought they had a really good portal strategy and plan. I've really liked the high school strategy and plan and how they've gone about it. And then I like how they've pushed for commits when it was time to push for commits. Mm-hmm. They've done, and then on top of all of that, I think like the Stein and Sloan factor together, I think is going to be
a nice 1-2 punch.
A nice 1-2 punch when it comes to recruiting quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I think that, I think Narat's only the beginning there.
Yeah.
And so that's all of that adds up into, well, okay, quarterback was a huge weakness. You feel like that's going to come around, and then you add in everything they're doing elsewhere. There's just a lot to be, I think, excited about from the recruiting operation. Like, we still need to see this staff go and coach games and game plan and all of that stuff. And we'll find some of our answers to those questions when the games begin. But from a roster building structure, apparatus, and how they're going about their business process, I think you've got to be really, really pleased with what they're doing. You've got to be pleased with the offensive line early offensive line returns. I like what they're doing via defensive line recruiting a lot. Quarterback has happened, and then I think that everywhere else they're doing a good job building a board and building targets. And then if they miss on a target, there's a pivot point and there's a quality backup option available at all these positions. So they're doing a really good job. You couldn't ask them to do, I don't think, a better job to this point, just from a recruiting and team building standpoint.
You know what excuse me. I could ask for some tips from you on how to win some money at BetMGM, though. You got any? Got any good ones? Taking the Knicks tonight?
I do not. Not right now. It's almost season win total season, and I've started my process of
there you go
finding my best one. So stay tuned. We'll have that.
Are you going to bet on the Kings to win the United Bowl? They're so hot right now.
Where's it even at? I don't even know where they play that at.
They're playing
In
at
Birmingham?
DC, which it was
Also, it's not
supposed.
new. Didn't they used to be neutral site for the?
Yeah, well, and that was the plan. They really just wanted to pick. Well, DC fans show up, so we're going to go to DC, and then DC ends up getting to the United Bowl. I gotta say, they were horrible to watch at the beginning of the year, just from an execution standpoint, a decision making standpoint. Chris Redmond was bad, but now they're fun, man. This kicker hits bombs. He hit multiple 60-yarders on Saturday, so he had 8 points on 2 field goals. He hit the 4-point play, but like on top of it all, look at it's not just okay. Offensively, they've got some guys. I don't know if you remember Lucky Jackson at Western. He was
I do.
yeah.
How could I forget?
He's a lot of fun. He was on and it's probably some of those. I don't know if it was the Brom teams or if it was the early Tyson Helton, but he was awesome for them back in the day, and he's really good now. James Robinson, the former Jacksonville Jaguar, has been really good at running back for him. But their defense is gnarly, man.
Yeah.
And they get after the quarterback, and they actually play like that. The Battlehawks last weekend beat themselves, so I'm fired up to watch. They were plus 350 to win the United Bowl. But they are underdogs like it for this game on Sunday, and they already have 2 wins against DC. So give me the Kings over at BetMGM. They're plus 1.5. Let's bring that United Bowl back home. They've only lost once since their first 3 games of the year. You can bet on that game there. You can bet on all of the games there. And whenever you're on BetMGM, see what their boost tokens are, whether it's single game parlays or from around the world of sports. You got World Cup action starting on Friday, NBA Finals, Stanley Cup Finals are all going on right now. It's all available on BetMGM. And when you sign up and you use bonus code ON3, you're going to get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if that first bet doesn't win. Just use that bonus code ON3 when you sign up. You're going to get a 50% off to an annual subscription to ON3 as well. So go ahead, sign up. Whatever your first wager is, if you don't win it, you get that money back in bonus bets when you use code ON3 when you sign up with BetMGM.com. Make this summer a legendary one with BetMGM. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers are not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Got a gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In the U.S., call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona, 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts, 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa, and 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. At first, bet offers for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards and unwithdrawable bonus bets expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing and Casino Hotel. All right, Luckett. This week, tomorrow, Perrysburg, the home of Reed Gherkin, taking on Archbishop Moeller and the Fighting Matt Ponatoski in the Final Four of the Ohio State Division I playoffs in Akron. It's Matt Ponatoski time, Luckett. We knew this was going to happen a year ago.
Yeah,
we circled it on our calendars, and Luckett, it's starting with a bang because, when Ponatoski went to the mound and he punched his team's ticket to this round of the playoffs. I made it the lead that, hey, when guys don't make it to campus, usually it's a bad thing, but it's a good thing because he's still playing baseball, right? When John Hale said that he hasn't reported to camp because he wants to play baseball, it ruffled some feathers, particularly because of the interview that Ponatoski conducted. And like it, some of those quotes, they were doozies. It's a little heavy-handed, wouldn't you say?
Your words, not mine. As you know, Nick, I am a Major League KSR's MLB draft expert. This is the crown I wear for Kentucky Sports Radio .com. And the thing with Ponatoski, I think from the beginning, I tried to state, I think there's reasons to think he would end up at UK and be a football player and play baseball. But I've always said, even the common sense in all of this, or what what you're hearing, what be trending, all doesn't matter. It's just at the end of the day, he's got to make a decision, right? The end of the day, he's got to make a decision. They're going through the draft. He's going to get picked somewhere, and then just where the money falls is how this is all going to play out. Moeller was, I think, a Moeller employee last night even tweeted out him throwing a football.
Yeah. Just to remind folks, and honestly,
it's complicated. And Matt Ponikowski went on an MLB draft show, right?
Yeah, to talk about
right, yeah. Just in a way to sell himself, I would assume was the plan there. And so, yeah, and so we're at this point where he's going to have to choose what he wants to do, which was always expected.
The part about the context matters a lot.
Yes.
So when we did this a month ago with Malachi Moreno and Milan Momcilovic, and people were freaking out when they did interviews and said, I'm only focused on the draft. And they're like, oh, it doesn't sound like Momcilovic wants to go to college. Well, now he's getting picked up in a Paul Miller Ford in Lexington. You know what I mean? When you are going through the process, you have to talk like you were going through the process. And I think the biggest difference between a guy like Momcilovic and Moreno is that they've been through media training. So they know how to sort of soften it. Whereas when Ponatoski says, I know I committed to play football, but I did because of baseball. Yeah, Yeah, he did not commit to play for Bush Hamden's offense and Mark Stoops' powerhouse offense, right? Kentucky kind of backed their ass into it because all these schools were scared off by the baseball side of things. And Kentucky was eagerly saying, hey, you want to do both? We'll let you do whatever you want, man. Come on down here. And you know what? You can still play SEC baseball. Right. Yeah. They got kind of lucky in all of this. Mm-hmm. So when he's saying 1A, 1B, part of it is he's reminding baseball teams, he has to tell them that you should pick me. This is why you should pick me. I still want to be a Major League Baseball player. Just because I committed to Kentucky, don't forget that I don't want to be a Major League Baseball player. Will it help him rise up high enough to get drafted? I don't know. But, he has to do this to give himself a chance to be drafted high.
Yeah, he's getting drafted. It's just where and then how do they value him as a prospect. By my understanding, he didn't have the big year baseball-wise that maybe people thought he was going to have. And so where does that end up? Where does he fall after that is just the big question.
And then the other side of it too, is it's almost like he has to make a decision about baseball as well, because he played short last year and pitched too, but this year he only pitched and DH'd.
Yeah, I think that was that. I haven't heard this, but I think that was a sign of that's where he's focusing. So I think if he ends up at Kentucky, he's probably going to say he comes to Kentucky next year and his pitcher, he's probably coming out of the bullpen.
Yeah. Maybe get a weeknight start here and there.
Maybe, but I would assume it's building him up early to be a bullpen guy first and then be a starting pitcher the year after would be my guess of how the development plan would go there. But he mentioned on the podcast with Joe Doyle that, he hasn't even done the pitching coach thing, which was unique to me hearing that, because I was also well, you could say that about him being a quarterback too. He's not done the specific training to try and get better. And he did say, he went to, I can't remember the name, a camp before the Elite 11, which is what a premium baseball camp that all the people go to. Mm-hmm. I can't remember the name of it, but also he went to the Elite 11, which is premium camp that all the quarterbacks go to. So he did both. He did both, and but you can only double dip for so long. Now you can continue that in college, but eventually you do got to choose one. And so it's to take some words from Mark Stoops, we'll see here. What he wants. But he did go on a baseball show to try to sell himself, I think, to baseball organizations and decision makers. So we'll see where he ends up in the draft. I believe the draft's July 11th, 10th, 11th, somewhere around there. So
All-Star break. Yep.
it's all going to go down there, and it's going to be busy time because there's also some important Kentucky players potentially returning that have decisions they'll have to make. So how that all that shakes out, it'll have a big deal on Kentucky baseball team next year. But also, Kentucky's maybe Ponatoski be the backup quarterback next year. You know how things go with backup quarterbacks, so we'll see how it all plays out.
There's the Trinity kid, Jackson Jelkin, obviously, some other guys on the team. And as Shaka points out in the chat, there aren't specific draft values like there are in some other sports.
No.
Where a lot of it comes down to how bad does this franchise want you? And there may be one who says, we don't want to risk losing you to football. So if we're going to use a draft capital on you, we're going to give you an enormous signing bonus to make sure you actually follow through with this. So, like, that's the other part of this equation is whenever July 11th comes around and he gets picked, you're still going to be waiting a couple days, a week or two before you get any sort of certainty. And that'll be about a week before fall camp starts. Now, I would imagine, and he even said to Greg Smith, the Rivals reporter, that he'll be getting to Lexington and start working out as soon as this baseball season's over with. So at some point next week. But there'll be a lot of double dipping going on until he has to actually sit down and make a decision. And we had a feeling this was going to happen about a year ago. We could kind of see it coming. So plenty more where that comes from. Look at in the here and now. This weekend we've got more official visits happening. I think I put the number. They hit the over on commitments last weekend. This one's a little bit more challenging to handicap because it's a day before we get the guest list. I mean, I usually wait till Thursday because so many things change. But Tyler Fryman is obviously the headliner for this weekend that we still have as a confirmed visitor. That would be significant if they're able to pull that one off. I know there's some other kids who have since committed who are scheduled to be here for official visits like it. But of the 3 weekends, this one sandwich in between didn't feel as it did feel sort of like the middle child of them because you had a lot of play, 2 top 100 offensive linemen coming in last week with Caden Moss and Antonio Berry. And then, like J.J. Mayfield's coming next week, Jake Narot. There's a lot of big names coming in for the final weekend. So this one has always felt like the middle child, but you could still end up having a commitment or two come around on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, and this was the original list, Nick, I had posted a few weeks ago in KS Board of the expected visitors. Mm-hmm. Miles Smith committed to Indiana. He's probably out. Santana Harvey committed to Clemson. He's probably out.
Buchanan certainly
Caden
out.
Buchanan's off the board, Virginia Tech. Yeah. Hezekiah Kelly announced earlier this week he's no longer visiting Kentucky. We know Miguel Wilson will be here. He's tweeted out that he's going to be here this week. And Brody Knowles, I believe his visit has gotten cut. So just off that, it doesn't look like a huge weekend. Now we'll see how that plays out.
Well, and there'll also be some guys that kind of randomly show up that you weren't aware of, like the Jaden Bayonne from Louisiana.
Right.
So and not even heard of that kid before.
Yeah, right. So we'll see how all of that shakes out. And again, like Sean Fox bumped his up by 2 weeks last week. So, is there a guy on June 19th that'll bump up his visit? That's TBD. I mean, we'll see. But, it's not looking like as big of a weekend. We'll see how it all plays out. But I've mentioned this before. Kids are just committing a lot faster right now. It's just happening volume-wise. On the spreadsheet, Nick, we are up to counting Kentucky commits and other commits. We're up near 200 commits on that list. Have committed one place or another. Mm-hmm. And then we're sitting at 120 uncommitted players. So 200 in the boat, 120 out of the boat. So that's a large chunk that are already on the board somewhere else. So visits might be slim pickings here.
Right.
So we'll see how it plays out, obviously. But Kentucky, like they're up to 23 commits, like we mentioned already. So the calendar just moves fast, and we're used to the 4th of July kind of got established as the unofficial biggest day in recruiting.
Yeah.
These last 2 cycles, specifically this cycle, has kind of gone away from that. Everyone's kind of committing early.
It's funny because
we're seeing play out.
Our friends at Rivals, they're doing sort of a signing day spectacular with some players announcing. But to your point, a lot of guys are already going to be off the board. I think, if you look around across the country, there's some schools like Texas and Alabama that, still haven't racked up a ton of players, and you'll probably see later on in the process. But then there will be a couple of the big fish out there. Like, did you get enough done to get it home, right?
Right.
Like Caden Moss. You feel like you're in an all right spot, but are you in a great enough spot? It's hard to tell,
Mm-hmm.
Can you actually get Tyler Fryman home at a top 200 pass catcher? So there's some big fish out there they can still get, and hopefully there are more celebrations for commits coming in the near future. If you want to see who's going to be committing, visiting, we'll have the full visitor list on KSR Plus on Thursday. So lock into that. We're also going to be getting the kickoff times, the time slots, I should say, for all of the SEC games this fall. So that's at 7 o'clock tonight on the SEC network. We won't get specific times for every single game, but we will at least get those windows.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of mad that they drug it out, Luckett, because they gave us times like 2 weeks ago. It's like, well, why didn't you just wait and do it all at once? Because they aren't even really following these windows as much anymore.
Last year was better than the year before. I'll give them that.
Yeah, I remember they listed the Louisville game as a flex one year, and it's like, that's a noon game. Why are we doing this? But nevertheless, that's going to happen at 7 o'clock tonight. Something to look forward to. All right, we do need to wrap up. But before we do, I admittedly don't know a very good way to segue in and out about talking about something so tragic. So I wanted to save this for the end of the show. But the Kentucky football program lost a player this weekend, and I don't think too many people knew Nick Happy Smith. A lot of people just called him Hap, but he redshirted last year. He's a defensive lineman from Georgia, tragically passed away on Sunday. And even though he wasn't the household name around Big Blue Nation, these guys spent a lot of time together, Luckett. A lot of time together in the locker room, on the practice fields, and I just can't imagine what that building's been going through the last few days. They canceled camp today because the coaches are spending time with the players. It's tough. It's awful. It's tragic to lose somebody that young. And I can't imagine the just overall pain that facility is going through right now, because it hits you like a ton of bricks from out of nowhere. A guy that you were just hanging out with, a guy that you were just running with, working out with every day is gone. So I know they're going through a hard time right now, and just prayers, all the good vibes towards the program right now. Look, this is just, it's awful, man. And it's one of those that, those guys are going to be, they're going to think about this for the rest of their lives. Like it's going to weigh heavy on them, and it's absolutely awful.
Right. Yeah. Just terrible, terrible news. Thoughts, prayers to his family, Nick Smith's family, friends, and teammates and coaches. All that, like, they just got back, right, from their little break. What's their summer break?
Mm-hmm.
And then they, everyone's back in June. They start workouts. So, yeah, just very, very sad news. And you're just heartbreaks, and you're just thinking of them. It's just tough for everyone.
And I mean, put yourself in Will Stein's shoes. He has this opportunity to lead the team he was cheering for growing up. It's like all excitement. You know, he's basically getting all of the good out of this job, and then right when they're getting into like, all right, we're gonna start flipping the switch into season mode soon. Got the whole team here. Like, we're recruiting, we're having a lot of fun. Like, it couldn't be any better. And then you get laid with the worst responsibility ever, and that's having to gather the players in a meeting room and tell them that one of them is no longer going to be with them. I mean, that's hard, that's awful, that's tough. But I will say Ahmad Bro's mother shared on social media, a little insight into how Kentucky was handling it that I thought was worth sharing. She really appreciates what the coaches did. Not only did they share a private morning with our boys, they called us parents individually to check in on us as well. You know, Coach Stewart listened to everything I had to say, acknowledged my concerns and feelings, no interruptions, no rushing off the phone. What a class act Coach Stu is. Ahmad had to experience another loss of a teammate in a similar manner about a year ago. Right. These are things in life that we have no control over, and we needed that support today. That another reminder that these are still like 19, 20-year-old kids who I know they're getting paid and they're professionals, but it's a lot weighing on them. It's a lot weighing on them heavily, and this is something else that's going to take a toll on them mentally. And you've got to commend the coaches for stepping up, for being leaders at a difficult time like this. And, hopefully this can, find it was sort of like, when Chris and Josh and Shorman, like the tragedy kind of brought them all together, and hopefully Happy Smith's legacy can be one that galvanizes this Kentucky football team moving forward. So prayers up to his family and all of Big Blue Nation, all of those who are mourning his loss. Absolutely tragic, awful, awful time. We send our heartfelt regards to everybody involved. And it sucks like it. It sucks. There's no other way to put it.
Yep.
Absolutely sucks. So, but you know what? It was fun chatting a little ball with you today. It's going to be a toasty one. We're going to have you covered from A to Z on this recruiting weekend coming up. And before you know it, we'll be in Tampa at SEC Media Days. That's right around the corner. So plenty more to come. Make sure you're locked in KSR YouTube channel, KSR Plus, for all your Kentucky football coverage. For Adam Luckett, I'm Nick Roush. Go Cats and go Kroger.